Bless up, everyone. Welcome to Ancient Current Rastafari Roots and Culture. I have here today Boston, Massachusetts reggae artist MediSun. Strong and mighty in stature and principle, MediSun delivers this content through his music. Grammy Award-winning songwriter, he has worked with the powerhouses such as Chronix and Kabaka Pyramid. Formerly King Mas, this will be the second time he comes on Ancient Current, the first time on my radio show, WBOR in Brunswick, Maine. It is a delight and wonderful to have you on the show again. Welcome.
Yes, give her thanks. It's a joy to be here.
Blessed. I'm wondering if you can start out talking about your song, Speak Love, and the idea behind that. Speaking love into our language, into our world.
So to give context to the process of creating the song, I was actually in a moment in time where I was experiencing, the 2020. It was written in the summer of 2020, and during that time frame, I think we all were brought into a space where we became very conscious of what relationships were a priority, like who is really and truly important, and who you're willing to risk certain things to give strength and support to, and also through being in close quarters with certain ones, certain vibrations came to the surface that otherwise through the busyness of life it's easier to kind of gloss over, just look past. And so I was experiencing uh, 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 some kind of tumultuous energy in relationships around, and what I was striving to bring forward and master in those moments was to maintain that highest vibration and highest intention, which is love.
Mm.
Ego aside and whatever self-interest aside, because even in the concept of self, dealing with the oneness, knowing that we are all extensions of the one, we're all existing um, as basically alternate versions of self within this hologram. So whatever you're vibrating and whatever you speak into another one, obviously you're affecting them in such a way that they're now going to go out into aeration, and you're influencing outcomes for other people. And having experienced sort of what I've experienced, some of what I've experienced in personal relationships, um, in terms of trauma, in terms of negative interactions that then go on to instill negative programming that
Mhm.
affects how I move through the world and how I interact with others, that made it a point to be very intentional to keep that polarity as positive and as loving as possible. So that's what inspired um, that topic within that moment. Because when I entered the studio with Moon, Zion I Kings, that was my first time linking with him in flesh to create. And that rhythm was the first rhythm that he played.
Hmm.
And that was just the transmission that came forward spontaneously based on what was happening in my life at the moment. So yeah, big up, it's up Moon, Teflon Zinc Fence who played the drums, programmed the drums, Jadi on the bass, and Rising Power to Drew Keys, who provided the piano phrase that you hear. So yeah, that was what that process was like.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now, you have a very contrasting song, Mau Mau Warriors, and there's a lot of focus on, love and peace and harmony, yet Rastafari's liberation movement and equal rights and justice is very strong. And so when I first heard that song, your beginning line, I really felt it. No passive, what do you say? No passive resistance against
No passive
aggression.
resistance against aggression. We're violent, not silent against oppression. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'd love for you to speak on that, please.
Well, if I say I love you, if I say that I love someone and I'm not able to express anger, towards them, or I'm not able to express frustration or even correct them, sometimes in a way that can maybe be a bit harsh, because maybe I don't want them to have bad feelings towards me, or I don't want to disrupt whatever the bond may be. That's not love. That's being um, sort of, again, it's maybe self-interest, or whatever. It's wanting a connection with a person to a point that you're not willing to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Real love requires that you're able to step up in moments when someone is out of line, and show them show them the errors so that they can evolve and grow. Just like a child, if you're raising a child and you see that child doing something wrong and you love that child, you're not going to indulge them and continue to, oh, it's okay. Oh, you're so cute. No, you
Mm-hmm.
correct them. So when we see injustice going on the planet, or even outside of the planet, whatever in this realm, and we don't call it out, we are actually enabling nonsense. So it is because of love, it's because I actually care, why I'm willing to go on stages and speak these types of messages versus telling people what they might necessarily want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
That's powerful. Thank you. I guess I'm just going to bring up a incident here in Maine. There's been a hit and run accident, and the man wanted for murder has not been found. And I think that song came forward for me so clearly during this time where people want justice. When somebody can do such a crime as murder, or as what, all these horrible things that happen in the world, the justice that comes from that person, having to pay its due is very crucial. And I appreciated that in your music, that it's not just about one love, it's not just about peace and harmony, but like the reality of justice and an oppressed situation, people that have been violently, physically, mentally, emotionally attacked, to come forward as your warrior self and stand up against that. So grateful for your messages.
absolutely. I mean, His Majesty famously spoke that we must achieve peace through right.
Mm,
Yeah, we don't just want to see peace by looking the other way and keeping our mouth shut when we see injustice happening. So yeah, the righteousness and the balance has to be the prerequisite to being able to come to the table. Otherwise, yeah, we will fight. It's a must. If you really love and care for the people, or care for the community, nation, whatever have you, you must be willing to fight for it.
yeah, man. Okay, thanks. Can you talk about the name MediSun?
The name of MediSun is rooted in a theory that I've developed over time as I've continued to study and learn more about um, spirit, as well as I'm a reader. I like to study a lot. I like to study biology. I like to study history, anthropology, all kinds of things. And what I'm seeing within this time, especially what I saw within the 2020 time period, is this complete assault on all that is really natural for us as humans. What one of the things
Mm-hmm.
about us is, of course, we are pack animals. We are based in a communal sort of structure. And even prior to 2020, there have been incremental changes um, in how we interact, that within just the past few decades, but I would say even within the past century, if you want to go back about around the past century, there's been almost a complete reversal of the natural order in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And with these movements away from the communal um, nature of how our cultures have developed over the past tens of thousands, or even maybe millions of years, everything has become very atomized. We've moved from communalism towards a more individualistic way of navigating life, which has brought on increases in all sorts of anxiety, depression. We see the mass shootings going on. We see the advent of social media and how being connected digitally has made it where if you look at how people interact on the physical plane, it's as if we're looking at a generation of stunted, emotionally stunted adults who
Mm-hmm.
are, yeah, who are much more self-absorbed than in times past. And it's I don't think it's by accident, it's by design. So
Mm-hmm.
um, the MediSun philosophy is essentially, there are two things that I think would solve probably 90% of our problems if we get them right. One of them is, of course, the meditation, because we know that they say that in the beginning was the word, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think the first thing is the divine intelligence. Thoughts become words, then words take on flesh and become reality. So a lot of the issues we see around us are the results of imbalanced thinking. And of course, taking the time out to balance your meditation is something that in this distraction economy, or this eyeball economy, they make it very difficult to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the new currency, eyeballs are the new currency. So the system is designed right now to keep you from knowing yourself and being present. And when you become very present, again, speak love, you begin to become very aware of your actions, your words, your deeds, your facial expression, just the way that you just become very aware of how you're affecting aeration around you and how aeration is affecting, a one as well, affecting the eye. So that's the medi aspect. And then the sun, the solar is like more like the majority of my people, probably about 90% at least, I can say people of African descent are vitamin D deficient, who are away from the tropics. And this affects so many things. Again, it affects our mental health, it affects our digestive health, it affects our bone structure, it affects our quality of life on so many levels. So what I'm doing through the music now, and I've been operating as the musical Obia man for the longest time, using vibration to heal and to bring certain elements forward to empower and strengthen my people. But I feel like these two aspects are the most important things. When they're telling you go indoors, they're telling you stay away from people. you know, um,
Mm-hmm.
and do everything digitally. Don't do anything in the real world. Just scroll away so that your mind becomes mush. What I'm saying in this time is to strengthen your mind in your meditation, get outside into nature and ground yourself.
Yeah, man.
That is the philosophy of MediSun.
Sounds perfect. Thank you. When I saw you a couple years back at Point Reggae Festival here in Maine, you poured libations on stage. And I feel like there's a lot of confusion around these things. If you're able to talk about obia and libations a little more, please.
Well, there's confusion around these things, but again, nothing is by accident. These things are by design. Because when you look at what traditional spirituality of the indigenous people has done over time, especially throughout the colonial period, is it's given us a foundation for resistance. Because when your cosmology, your concept of the creator and creation and the stories and the figures that you give homage to resemble you and are a reflection of your own culture, history, and tradition, nobody can come to you and beat you into submission to a point that you don't even know who to call on or where to turn. So when you look at the history of Jamaica, you look at the history of the African diaspora, and even in the African continent during colonialism, one of the first things that has always been done is to turn the people away from their traditions, turn the people away from their history and their spiritual practices, because as long as those things are in place, it's very difficult to control people for any significant amount of time. So in 1898, there was a law that was enacted called the Obia Act in Jamaica, which that stands to this day that has made it actually illegal. Not only is it considered immoral to practice, traditional African spirituality, but it's illegal. Um, because of the various uprisings, we saw what Toki did, we saw what Queen Nani did, and these
Mhm.
things have all been done tapping into our ancestral powers. So the colonial structure, both through heavy proselytization in terms of Christianity and other things, the Abrahamic religions, and actual corporal physical punishments. There are several different ways they would punish people for practicing. One of them was actually transportation, is what it was called. So if you are the healer within your community, you're the man that people are consulting for guidance and wisdom, and even the herbal knowledge and how to deal with physical ailments. That gives you a significant sort of status within that
Mhm.
community. Where if you tell them tomorrow we're going to burn down this plantation, people will do it. So they will notice that they would notice this whoever this person is, and they would just move them either to a different community across the island or sometimes to an entirely different island, which is what happened
Mm.
to Dottie Bookman, who was sent to Haiti and helped to
Okay.
spark that revolution with Jean Jacques. Yeah, so saying all of this to say, um, our spiritual traditions have always been a source of strength because what gives you a sense of self is continuity. When you have a sense of continuity, you become very clear about who you are. And when you look at the temple walls, even in some of the older civilizations amongst human beings, ancient Kemet or Egypt and these places, one of the first things you'll find written on most of those temple walls is know thyself. But once
Mm.
you know yourself, you see the divine within yourself, you see the most high within yourself.
Yes, I.
You're not in a position to be misled or to be oppressed or to accept some sort of subservient status in the earth. So pouring of libations is literally, it's just like when you nurture a flower bed or anything like that. If you want to be able to call upon spirits, you want to be able to call upon the assistance and the aid of your ancestors, you have to feed them. You have
Mhm.
to cultivate that relationship. The same within Rastafari. If you want to, a lot of people approach ones like myself and say, I love, I feel drawn to Rastafari. How do I join? How do I become? What is the process? Is there a group I can join? Is there a place I can go? And my my first advice, yeah, because it's with most of the other religions of the world, yeah, all you have to do is go to the temple, go to the church, and you
Is
can
there a
just
Facebook
join just
page?
so. Right, right. Is there a, yeah, exactly. Is there can I go on meetup.com and just go to some place? No, it's not Tinder. You can't swipe your way into Rastafari. But um, what you can do is know the king.
Yeah, man.
Do your research, look at the words and works of His Imperial Majesty and
Yes,
Empress
I.
Menenai in divine
Yeah, man.
balance.
Mhm.
And of course, the works of the Gun, Leonard P. Howell, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. This is the key. This is the gateway in, and it's the same can be said for any other culture. If you really want to be grounded in yourself, know your ancestors, know your history, and people have confusion about what it means to be an ancestor as well. The title of ancestor isn't given to someone merely because they dropped flesh, because
Mm.
they passed away. There's
Mhm.
actually a process of ancestralization where you are audited, your life is audited upon your transition, and it is decided whether or not you are found worthy to even enter the shrine of
Mm.
a cultivated or revered person. And there are certain actions and deeds. They say within our culture, traditionally, as Africans, as Bantu, no one really dies until their name is no longer called.
Mm.
If you've lived a life where your deeds are such that we do not want your energy to return. In fact, it will be made an agreement within the village or the community. We will no longer speak this person's name. We will make no mention of them ever again based upon their actions, which obviously, the inverse is also true. When you've done things which you would like to see replicated in future generations, we make it imperative that this person's name, their legacy is never forgotten.
Mhm.
So that is what libations is all about, and calling those names and bringing those energies forward, especially as it relates to reggae music, because I don't consider myself just a reggae musician or artist. I am actually a custodian of a tradition, a culture that's much greater than I. I'm grateful to be contributing even a small piece
Mm.
to this larger tradition. So when I step on stage, I like to remind myself and remind everyone present that there's something much greater going on, and we should remember those who set the foundation.
Yeah, man. Give thanks. So powerful. Thank you. And I give thanks for you being a vessel of bringing this knowledge and wisdom and love to the world through your music and just speaking today. Um, this kind of connects with your song Ancient Memory. This is like your latest release, correct? Ancient Memories.
Yes, at the moment, yep, that is the most recent release. Yes,
Okay. So you have been
there's
talking about that in a way, but
another song. Not to interrupt you, but there is a song. There is a song that should have been released in the past month, but we weren't able to for
okay.
reasons I'll probably get into in a little while. But yes, Ancient Memories.
Okay. So that it seems like it connects with what you've been talking about, but is there anything else about that song and about the ancient memories that we carry that you want to share today?
Well, a lot of people may not be aware. Again, I'm a reader. I like to study. It's just I'm a little bit of a nerd. That's the way I am. And there's this concept. There's a concept of what they call cellular memory, and there's just been a lot of evidence sort of being unearthed in scientific journals and studies recently that is in alignment with what again indigenous people have known for a very long time, and which is that our ancestors are very present in us, and a lot of the traits and
Mhm.
qualities that we all display um, are coming from way, way, way down the line, that you may have never met this person. Um, for example, I remember when I was about 8 or 9 years old. There was a time when I wasn't well as a child. I had actually had epilepsy as a child.
Mm.
So my mother would come into the room oftentimes at night just to check on me. And one night she came into the room and she screamed at the top of her lungs. So I'm just getting up out of my bed like, wait, what's going on? Wait, why are you screaming? And she's like, literally, I can see she's just frazzled. Like, I just saw my grandfather.
Oh.
My mother growing up in Jamaica, in Clarendon, in Mount Providence, she would often be sent to my great grandfather's room to bring him. I forget what it was that he would drink at night. Actually, no, I don't. He liked dark liquor. It was whiskey, and he would be in the bed, but his feet would never be covered. He would only cover himself up to the knee.
Okay.
And from the time I was a child, I never liked having that lower part of my foot covered either. So she just
Mm.
walked in and saw me doing that, and she was like it blew her mind.
Mm.
It took her back 40 years
Yeah.
to. And I obviously he passed long before I was born. So
Mm.
where do I get that impulse?
Mm-hmm.
Is he really gone?
Mm-hmm.
So ancient memories is is a is a is a song of gratitude. It's a song of gratitude, and that there are moments where through certain types of meditation and tapping into those ancient instincts and drives, where you can actually feel that sense of oneness with all of these ones who tried before.
Mm.
And yeah, that's what inspired that particular word song.
Neat. Can you tell me about the project you said you're working on, the release that is not out yet?
Hmm. There are a lot of releases
Okay.
that would be forwarding, but the
The
particular,
one that was supposed to come out a month ago, you said.
yeah. So the song that was supposed to be released in June by the name of Digital Fascism.
Hmm. Interesting. I like it.
It's very interesting, and what is so interesting is that what the song is about, as you can probably tell from the title, actually has been proven through the process of trying to release the record.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
yeah, because as you've noticed, another thing that the 2020 time period sort of brought forward is, again, they shut down all physical spaces where we could gather, and
Hmm.
a lot of interaction was relegated to the online spaces. So the social media platforms and other giants, Google and these places, literally had almost complete power over what information can be transmitted and shared, what gets platformed, what the algorithm is going to make more visible, or what they're going to, shadow ban or whatever, just make sure nobody can see or hear. And this brethren of mine up in Chicago by the name of Wadada I of Dub Music Studio, he sent me a reading, I think, yeah, a good while ago, and I recorded the song because I was seeing on his page, on my page, different pages where anytime you would question certain things about, you don't have to question it. If you mention the word vaccine, if you mention anything,
Hmm.
they were putting all of these disclaimers, literally shutting down accounts for
Hmm.
you, feeling like you as a citizen of this world have the right to to speak out on certain topics that they don't want
Absolutely.
you to speak on.
Hmm.
Um, I found it quite strange, so I decided to make a song about it. Now,
Oh.
this this past this past month, we've been making attempts to release the record at first, and this is something I've experienced as an artist as well. That the artificial intelligence that exists now on all these platforms, they listen out for songs within content. I'm sure you probably know, as a presenter, that if you were to play a certain song, maybe while you're live streaming or something, they have robots that listen out and will shut streams down or whatever for copyright reasons
Hmm.
due to infringement. But in this case, the producer of this song, he had another song out on the same rhythm, and so with his first attempt to release the song, they said they can't allow the release to go through because the copyright infringement within the audio, that the rhythm sounds the same as this other rhythm.
So.
But he's like, well, but wait, I'm the producer. I'm the one who submitted this other one. So who filed the claim? And
Against me. Huh.
right. So that was their first justification for blocking it.
Mm.
The second time, the artwork actually includes a hand um, scrolling through a fictional social media platform with some emojis and things kind of showing up. And the next issue they brought up was that these emojis could be trademarked or copyrightable materials. They don't want to touch that.
Oh,
They
geez.
don't think it's appropriate.
Hmm.
We removed the emojis. Now, and I wish if I could scroll, I would actually, because I'm in the interview, I can't leave this, but I would actually
Sure.
go and read you verbatim what they said about the what the third justification was for blocking it. I'll paraphrase. Basically, what they said is that it is not allowed on any sort of an album artwork, cover art, to make any references to social media or anything like that. That it's not allowed. Not that it's illegal or that it's, but for some. So my question becomes, who is allowing me? Who do I have to ask permission from to speak to make a social commentary on social media?
Mhm.
And what are the agreements like between music distribution platforms and the social media platforms? What is that dynamic
Mhm.
where artists are not allowed to, whether it's visually, and what my assumption really is that they've heard the song, they've listened to the
Mhm.
song, they don't want that going. Going
Absolutely.
off.
Yeah. When it
It's
comes to
yeah,
speaking up against the
yeah,
mainstream, then they're on you. But yeah, people can
yeah,
speak what they want if it goes in alignment with what we're being told is the right way. So speaking out against it, I think is good. And there'll be other ways. And that's why I want to promote live music too. Tell me about your upcoming show. You're coming to Green Lions Garden Party this Friday, correct? In Cape Nettic, Maine.
yes,
And then any other
indeed.
things you've got coming up this summer live?
Quite a few. We have, like you said, Reggae Garden coming up this Friday the 8th. We have Greenwoods, uh, Reggae Revival on the 5th of August, where I'll be
Sweet.
performing with my full live band.
Oh,
And yeah,
great.
we can definitely be bringing the vibes up there. And I may have another engagement for August 19th that I'll be announcing very shortly once it's confirmed. Um, yeah, so it's looking like it's going to be a relatively active summer compared to the
Blessed.
past few. So
Okay, that's
yeah, I'm
great.
excited.
Where can people find you online? What's the easiest way?
Yeah, I would say on any of the major social media platforms at MediSun, Medisun music, and you'll find me wherever.
Wonderful. Give thanks. Is there anything you want to share in our last few minutes here?
Well, again, as we've been stating throughout this entire discussion, know thyself, speak love, be love, let your words be love, let your deeds be love, let your thoughts be love, and everything else will work itself out.
Mm. Yeah, man. Give thanks. Blessed. Grateful to have you on the show, MediSun. This has been Ancient Current Rastafari Roots and Culture. I'm your host, Sheila Ryan. Thanks for dealing with the raspy voice. You know, we've been trying to line up this interview for a couple of months now, and despite the voice, I decided to just keep it going and be real. This is real, so be real, everybody. Thank you, MediSun, for joining me
Yes,
today.
sir.
Blessed love.
Yes, sir. Heart out of said speed. All right, so.